Hi neighbor, I'm Juliet DeRienzo. Today I try out ROTC physical training, learn about a fundraiser for a Veterans Memorial in downtown Boone, and chat with award-winning photographer and filmmaker Roger Richards. I hope you'll join me as I say, hi neighbor! What does it take to be physically ready to join the Army? Well, I trained with Appalachian's ROTC at 6 a.m. and it was no joke. Take a look at what I endured. I'm here with Erin Durand this morning at 6 a.m. for physical training with the ROTC program that Appalachian State University offers. So first off, Erin, I just want to ask you a little bit about ROTC in general. When did you join and what year are you now?
So actually I joined, this is my first semester and I'm a junior, so I'll be graduating in 2019. I've been in the military 6 years as an enlisted personnel. I'm currently a specialist in the Army Reserves, and this is my 6-year mark this month actually, and I had to re-enlist to continue in this program, and so at the end of the program I should be an Army officer.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about physical training today. What does it usually entail, and are you always waking up this early?
Yeah, I actually live a little bit further away, so I have to wake up at 4:30 to get here. So, yes, it always happens. We always have to form up about 5:45 on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then Wednesdays we have a ruck march in the morning. We get there at 5:20. So it's early hours, late nights, and long weekends sometimes, but it's worth it.
So tell me a little bit about what it takes to join ROTC.
So if you want to join ROTC, you're going to have to be ready to put in some long hours. We always do work on the weekends with parking for the football games. We have a bunch of clubs. We have Persian Rifles, the Commandos Club, and then we have a bunch of others that meet 2 to 3 times a week. And it's a lot of physical training involved with it, so you have to be ready to be physically fit. If you're not physically fit, you can get there. We will work with you. And if you have to be, mentally, you have to be intelligent. You have to have high grades throughout this entire process with working long hours, and it's very challenging. You'll get like 4 hours of sleep sometimes. It's grueling, but it's going to be worth it in the end.
So how do you logistically join ROTC?
So I went through Mr. DJ Weatherford. He's the person in charge of who joins the program, who doesn't. If you're a freshman or freshman or sophomore, you can actually just sign up for the class and show up to PT in the morning and just see if it's something you want to do. But once you hit your junior and senior year, you're actually going to have to dedicate yourself to the program. You're going to be raising your hand and swearing an oath to the United States to be an officer at that point.
Wow, how exciting. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm here with Kylie Mattingly. So, Kylie, first tell me, when did you join and what year are you now?
I joined as a freshman. Currently, I'm still a junior.
Okay, great. So tell me about your first impressions when you joined ROTC.
So it was tougher than I expected it to be. Coming from a military family, I don't know why I thought it would be not super challenging, but it was. A lot of the people were a lot more serious than I was when I first started out. I wasn't as involved as I am now, but I stuck with it, and I'm still here.
So what are some of your goals for the future? Like, why did you join ROTC?
Well, I hope to commission as an officer. I'd like to hit a max on my PT score. I'm close to there, about like 10 or 15 points away. Those are my main goals.
Tell me about the scoring when it comes to PT.
On the actual PT test, there's 300 total points that you can get. Each is divided into 3 categories: push-ups, sit-ups, and running. And each one you can get a max of 100 score on. And then the Army has like basic standard scores that they want you to get, which I believe is like around 50 or 60 per event. But in ROTC, they want you to get as close to 100 as you can for each event.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Are you ready to work out?
I am.
Great. I'm here with Dustin Osborne, and we just got finished with our physical training for the day, and he is here to tell me a little bit about the different pins on his jacket. But first off, would you tell me your year and your ranking?
I'm MS3. I'm a junior, and that means that I'm a cadet staff sergeant.
Okay, great. So go ahead and explain to me what's on your jacket.
So this is a Army service uniform. This is what we wear to formal events such as dining in, which we have this week. This pin right here represents our rank. I'm a cadet staff sergeant, so this is where this goes. This is our battalion crest. It's a symbol of our unit. This right here is our nameplate, and these represent going through basic course, and these service ribbons are for achievements that we've gotten. So this one is for outstanding GPA, and this one is for going through basic camp.
Well, great job on that. And this pin has a fire on it. I thought I heard someone say something about fire on a mountain.
Yes, our battalion motto is Fire on the Mountain.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and good job at the workout.
Thank you. You too.
The High Country chapter of the Military Officers Association of America is partnering with the town of Boone to sponsor a new Veterans Memorial outside of Boone Town Hall. I'm here with Fred Schmidt, president of the chapter, and George Brzezinski, head of the fundraising committee. Well, Fred and George, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, first off, let me start off with asking, tell me a little bit about your association.
Certainly. The Military Officers Association is a national organization comprised of about 500,000 members. Our High Country chapter here has 56 of that 500,000. And we're basically an advocacy group at the national and state level for military veterans, their families. We lobby for legislation that supports health care benefits, educational benefits as well. And we also have a partnership with App State, the ROTC, and the junior ROTC unit at Watauga High School.
Okay, great.
And George, you?
Yeah, and along with that, we support the 1451st North Carolina Army National Guard unit here with a Christmas party every year for them or anything that they might need. Also, too, mentioning Appalachian State, we support the Veterans Association here on campus, too, which has a number of veterans that have served and now are gone back to college.
Sure. Do you know about how many veterans are here on campus attending App State, roughly?
I don't have an exact number, but I think you're pushing well over 100 veterans that are attending the various courses here.
Great.
Yes.
So this week must be very busy for you. What are some of the events you have attended or are going to attend for Veterans Weekend?
Well, I'll address some of them. George can do some others. The Veterans Day, which is an annual, this is our 12th annual observance. We'll do this at the Boone Mall on November 11th. We usually have about 400 people, and of course we honor all of our veterans, particularly World War II to current, and we usually have representatives from every one of those conflicts, and so we honor the veterans there. We are also in the final stages, and we'll talk a little bit about that, of putting together the construction piece and the fundraising piece for the Veterans Memorial.
Right.
So it's been a busy time.
Correct. So tell me a little bit about that memorial, George. Who created this, and what are some of the elements that it's going to entail?
Well, our organization some probably 2.5 years ago came up with the idea that there was not a Veterans Memorial in a high traffic area that recognizes the 3,500 plus veterans we have in the community. And we had one gentleman in our organization that was looking for sources within the town of Boone for a location. He approached the town of Boone. Fortunately, the timing was correct. There was an area right next to Town Hall that was available, and that's when the ball started to roll, when they approved the use of the land on the site adjacent to Town Hall and on King Street.
That's going to be so exciting. Tell me a little bit more about the memorial. What is it going to look like?
Well, hopefully we'll be able to show a picture here before we finish this particular interview of what it's going to look like. But it was a competition that it wasn't quite nationwide, but anywhere east of the Mississippi. We invited artists to submit proposals, and we gave a few criteria, high-level criteria. It had to honor all the services. It had to honor veterans from all the conflicts from Revolutionary War to current time. And we actually received physically about 19 proposals. We narrowed that list down to 3, and the winning proposal selected by our executive committee was a local artist named Susie Hallier.
Great.
And so we were particularly pleased with that. And the design is unique. It fits with Boone. It's an ellipse. The viewer is invited to wander through and reflect. It'll have plaques that memorialize the various conflicts as well as the number of lives that were lost. And so we think the veterans will be very proud and honored by this tribute.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to the memorial, and it's going to be occurring on July 4th, correct?
That is our target unveiling date.
Great.
Yep. And we're on
2018.
schedule.
2018.
We're on schedule so far.
Well, thank you all so much again.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, because coming up, Roger Richards is here to talk about his documentary, Sarajevo Roses. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and a video is priceless. I'm here with renowned photographer and filmmaker Roger Richards and executive producer of their film, Sarajevo Roses, Peggy Meter. Their work has taken them all around the world to major conflict zones. And today, we are going to discuss their film about the siege of Sarajevo during the Bosnian War. Thank you all so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, pleasure.
Of course. So first, tell me a little bit about the Sarajevo Roses.
The Sarajevo Roses, essentially the film is about the society and about what happens when a modern society implodes, when all the forces that keep us together as working as a civilization, when everything just kind of falls apart. And the symbolism of the roses they were the imprints of when artillery shells that were fired into the city, landed on the concrete. They left this impression. It looked like a rose. Wow. And then the citizens, essentially, they wanted to take back, make these symbols of destruction. They reappropriated them and painted them and filled them in with red resin.
Wow.
And so it became a symbol, essentially, of the city.
Interesting. So how long did this siege last?
It lasted from April 1992 until essentially officially lifted on the end of February of 1996.
Wow. And I assume there were so many casualties, correct?
Yes, in Sarajevo there were approximately 11,541 people. That's the casualty count in a modern city who were killed.
Wow.
And including children, entire span of population. In Bosnia itself, they estimated about 100,000 people died in the war.
Oh, goodness. So Roger and Peggy, what is your involvement with this film and your experience with this siege, your personal experience with it?
Well, Roger really has the most personal experience. He was a photographer during the siege.
Wow.
So I think you can speak to that better than I can.
Well, I was a photojournalist for an agency called Gamma Liaison, which is a French-American agency, meaning that I would, my images were syndicated all around the world, and I worked for different magazines. I worked for the Washington Post, New York Times, all the major magazines, Time, Newsweek, so on, and it was being an independent. Essentially, I didn't have to choose which particular publication because I just wanted to, you work for them all.
Right.
And when I first got there, I realized that what was taking place was going to be much bigger than what people thought was going to happen. Some people figured, I think in the rest of the world, they thought it was just going to be something very quick, and it was not going to affect the rest of the world.
Okay.
And I soon, after a while, realized that what was taking place in Bosnia was, and this is what scared me, and a lot of my colleagues, that it was an example of what would happen if our regular modern societies, if something went wrong and everything just nosedived.
So Peggy, can you tell me a little bit about, going off of what he said, maybe the relevance today of this documentary?
Well, I think that's where, when did I start working with you? About 4 years ago?
Yes.
And one of the things, being born in the United States and being raised in the United States and lived in the United States, I heard about Sarajevo, but I didn't really know much about it. It was just one of those things that was happening somewhere else in the world. And what I realized after seeing this was the connections between what happened in Sarajevo and the crumbling of, this could happen in the United States. This could happen here in your town, in Boone. And getting involved with that, I think my role has been really to try to keep it connected to what's happening in the real world, what's happening in Syria, what's happening, what happened in Libya, what's happening in Yemen right now. So I think we just need to really keep an eye on that. And this film is more about individuals and their unique ability to survive and to manage and to adapt in a situation, more so than talking about the politics of the war and who was wrong and who was right. This is just about you and me and him. What would it be like if you were there? As a matter of fact, one of the characters in the film is a young woman. She was a young woman during the time, and she had just finished her studies and this and that, and she was working in banking. And it tells the story from her perspective, because people still had to go to work every day. It was a law.
Right.
And they had to dress up just like they were going to work, like you did this morning. And the things and the challenges that she had to face just getting there and then surviving on a day-to-day basis.
Wow.
Just walking to work was running down Sniper Alley and being fired upon.
Have you seen any impact from this documentary so far about maybe what you're talking about in relation to that?
I think the biggest impact that I've seen so far is for the people who suffer from PTSD and for various reasons, have been able to take this, and it's helped them develop and manage some of their symptoms that they have, and to realize that this is a path forward.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
It does, it does. And I do thank you all so much for coming on the show. It is vital that we as students especially hear this. So I thank you again for coming, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode, and I hope you enjoyed your Veterans Weekend. To see more fun, Hi Neighbor content and extras, visit our Facebook and YouTube page at Apptv. I'm Juliet DeRienzo, and until next time, bye neighbors!